Welcome, my fellow seekers of inspiration. I'm so thrilled to have you here with me today. By joining us, you've already shown that you're not just passing through life, you're eager to uncover the remarkable and uplifting stories that remind us all of what's possible. I know your time is valuable, and I want you to know it means the world that you chose to spend it here. This is a tale of grit, creativity, and the unshakable power of resilience, how one remarkable woman faced life's fiercest storms, found her true creative spark, and emerged on the other side stronger than ever. So let's dive in together. And thank you for being the kind of thoughtful, engaged audience that makes sharing these stories such a joy. Ready? Let's begin. In the heart of Seaside Bay, where the gentle murmur of the ocean meets the vibrant pulse of urban life, Ava Delgado discovered a sanctuary in the world of art and storytelling. Once a celebrated literature professor, Ava had embraced a new chapter as a spoken-word artist and writer. Drawn by the belief that creative expression could illuminate even the darkest corners of the soul, her modest apartment, tucked away on a charming street lined with lively cafes and eclectic galleries, offered a panoramic view of a coastline bathed in the golden light of dawn and the tranquil hues of twilight. Every morning, as the salty breeze mingled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, she would sit by her window, pen poised to capture fleeting moments of beauty and the hidden narratives of everyday life. Seaside Bay, with its rich tapestry of cultures and ceaseless artistic energy, had long served as both muse and mentor, inspiring Ava to weave her thoughts into compelling verses. Yet beneath the routine of serene days and gentle rhythms lay an unspoken anticipation, a subtle tremor that hinted at impending change and challenges that would soon test the very core of her resilience and passion. In that quiet, reflective space, Ava remained blissfully unaware that her life was about to be transformed in ways she could scarcely imagine under the golden glow of destiny. On what began as a bright, hopeful morning in Seaside Bay, everything Ava Delgado knew was violently upended in a heartbeat. Driving along the picturesque coastal road with the ocean's gentle murmur in the background, she was suddenly jolted out of her routine by the sound of screeching tires and a deafening crash. An out-of-control vehicle, its driver clearly overcome by panic, veered recklessly into her lane. In that split second, time seemed to suspend itself, each heartbeat stretching into an eternity of shock and terror. The world around her dissolved into a chaotic blur of shattering glass, twisted metal, and piercing light. Amid the disarray, pain exploded through her body, a searing, all-encompassing agony that signaled the destruction of not just the car, but of the life she had so carefully built. When the clamor finally subsided and emergency sirens filled the air, Ava found herself lying amidst the wreckage, her legs unresponsive and broken, the once familiar promise of mobility now cruelly stripped away. Rushed to the hospital, the stark reality set in. Severe fractures and nerve damage would relegate her to a wheelchair, forever altering the contours of her existence. This catastrophic incident, as sudden as it was brutal, shattered her former identity as a dynamic literature professor and passionate artist. In its devastating wake, the accident marked not merely an end, but the painful beginning of a journey toward rediscovering herself and transforming overwhelming loss into a source of creative rebirth. In the sterile brightness of the hospital, as Ava Delgado struggled to come to terms with her new reality, the true weight of her isolation began to settle in. In the wake of the accident, when Ava needed support the most, Evan Reyes, her husband of 8 years, grew increasingly distant. The man who had once promised to stand by her through thick and thin was now a shadow of the person she had married. His visits to the hospital were brief, his eyes avoiding hers, as his discomfort grew with each physical limitation he saw in her. Desperation and confusion filled Ava's heart as she pleaded with him to understand, to stay. But his mind was already made up. One evening, as the reality of her new life settled in, Evan stood by the door, suitcase in hand, his expression unreadable. "I can't do this anymore, Ava," he said, his voice flat and emotionless. "I'm not putting my life on hold while you try to recover. I need someone who's whole, someone who can keep up with me." Ava's words caught in her throat, a painful, helpless silence filling the space between them. Overwhelmed by the weight of his abandonment, she watched as he walked out, leaving behind a whirlwind of crushed dreams and unanswered questions. As the door shut, the sound reverberated through her, a stark reminder that while her body was broken, it was her heart that truly shattered. His departure, as cold as it was swift, marked the beginning of her loneliness. And yet, in that very moment, her struggle to reclaim herself would begin. Evan's departure. Ava found herself submerged in a crushing emotional turmoil that threatened to swallow her whole. Alone in her apartment, the walls seemed to close in as the weight of abandonment bore down on her fragile spirit. The vibrant world she once knew, full of stories, lectures, and the thrill of artistic creation, felt distant, almost unreachable. Every morning, she awoke to the stinging emptiness of knowing she had been left behind. Vulnerable and isolated, the once reliable rhythm of her life had been disrupted, and without Evan by her side, her world seemed to fragment into jagged, painful pieces. Each attempt to hold onto the fragments of who she once was felt useless. Her body and soul now so unfamiliar. Her mind spiraled through moments of doubt and despair. Who am I without him? And what is left of me now? The pursuit of art, once her savior and sanctuary, felt out of reach, overshadowed by the incessant voices of self-doubt. Each stroke of the pen felt empty, as though she had lost the ability to express the very emotions that swirled within her, leaving a hollow silence in its place. Dark thoughts consumed her, each day more difficult to face than the last. The artist, the teacher, the wife, she began to question if any part of herself would ever emerge from the black void that had taken root in her heart. In the midst of her overwhelming despair, when every day felt like an endless night, Ava found an unexpected lifeline in Lila Gardner, a compassionate friend whose unwavering support began to illuminate the darkness. One crisp afternoon, as a gentle drizzle blurred the windows of Ava's modest Seaside Bay apartment, Lila arrived unannounced with a soft smile and a comforting embrace. She carried not only a basket of freshly baked bread and herbal tea but also a promise of understanding and renewed hope. As they sat together in the quiet living room, Lila listened intently to every trembling confession and tearful memory, her words weaving a tapestry of empathy and encouragement. She reminded Ava of the resilient spirit that had once ignited her passion for literature and art, sharing heartfelt stories of others who had risen from similar depths of despair. Lila's gentle insistence that pain could be transformed into strength, coupled with her practical help in navigating medical appointments and daily routines, slowly rekindled a spark of possibility within Ava. Their quiet walks along the rain-kissed streets, punctuated by thoughtful conversations and shared silences, served as a constant reminder that she was not alone. In Lila's steadfast presence, Ava began to glimpse the fragile outlines of a future where healing was not just a distant dream but a journey that they would bravely walk together. After the relentless tide of abandonment and despair began to ebb, Ava found herself drawn back to the sanctuary of her loft studio, a space that had once echoed with the vibrant pulses of her creative spirit. In that sunlit room with its high ceilings and large windows overlooking Seaside Bay, she rediscovered the language of art that had always spoken to her deepest self. Surrounded by scattered canvases, half-finished sketches, and an array of colorful paints and brushes, Ava hesitantly began to experiment once again. Initially, her strokes were tentative, her words timidly penned in a well-worn journal, each mark a small step toward reclaiming the voice that had been silenced by heartbreak. But as she immersed herself in the creative process, the pain of her recent past transformed into a powerful, unfiltered expression. The brush became an extension of her soul, translating raw emotions into vivid splashes of color, while her written words wove together a tapestry of longing, defiance, and hope. In that moment, every line on the paper and every hue on the canvas was a declaration of survival, a testament to the resilience hidden within her. With each new piece, Ava began to see not only the scars of her past but also the promise of a future reborn through creativity. The studio, once merely a room, evolved into a cocoon of transformation where the echoes of despair were replaced by the resounding heartbeat of artistic renewal and the quiet, steadfast spark of self-discovery. With every passionate stroke and fervent scribble, the space became a haven where the fractures of her past were gently mended, illuminating a resilient self eager to embrace a tomorrow filled with endless possibilities. Each morning, Ava Delgado faced the challenge of physical therapy with a mixture of determination and exhaustion. The once invincible woman who had reveled in the freedom of movement was now confined to a wheelchair, grappling with the painful reminder of her accident. At the therapy center, the specialized trainer guided her through stretches and strengthening exercises that forced her to confront her body's limitations head-on. Every session was a battle, each movement an agonizing reminder of what had been lost, but also a glimmer of what was yet to be regained. Ava's muscles ached as she worked to rebuild her strength, and the slow, deliberate progress felt almost imperceptible at times. Walking again seemed like a distant dream, and yet with each passing week, there was a quiet victory, the ability to sit up a little longer, the increased strength in her arms, the daring attempt to shift her body from one position to another. These were small victories, but they added up over time. They showed Ava that recovery was a mosaic of tiny, incremental steps, a process that demanded patience and perseverance. She began to let go of the overwhelming pressure of expecting instant transformation and started to embrace each minor improvement as a sign of her growth. It was in these small victories, these simple moments of progress, that Ava rediscovered a deep well of strength within herself, proof that while the journey was long and uncertain, every step forward, no matter how small, brought her closer to the life she yearned to lead. On a breezy autumn evening in Seaside Bay, when the sky shifted to shades of amber and the city hummed with creative energy, a transformative opportunity presented itself to Ava Delgado. Julian Shaw, the visionary owner of the beloved literary cafe known as the Quill and Cup, had been closely following the evolution of her spoken word performances. During a recent intimate open mic night, Ava's raw, impassioned verses, so candidly woven with the threads of her pain, resilience, and emerging hope, had captivated the audience, leaving an indelible mark on every listener. Recognizing the unique authenticity in her work, Julian reached out with an invitation that felt both unexpected and deeply personal. He proposed that Ava headline a major upcoming event, a celebration of emerging local talent designed to shine a spotlight on voices that defied conventional norms. In a quiet meeting at his stylish office, bathed in soft, inviting light and surrounded by shelves of well-worn books and art, Julian detailed his vision, a night where Ava's journey could be shared with a broader community, turning her personal narrative into a universal anthem of overcoming. This invitation, laden with promise and genuine admiration, was more than a career opportunity, it was a lifeline. A moment of validation that acknowledged her transformation from grief to creative empowerment. As Julian spoke, Ava felt the stirrings of possibility bloom within her, the invitation becoming a tangible bridge between her painful past and a future where her voice would resonate powerfully. Not just as a whisper of survival, but as a clarion call to others in search of hope. At the literary event, amid the soft glow of strategically placed lights and the gentle murmur of hushed conversations, Ava Delgado felt an unexpected jolt as she caught sight of a figure from her past. There, in the midst of the crowd, stood Evan Reyes, once her steadfast partner, now exuding the polished detachment he had always worn like armor. Beside him, his new companion, Nina Clark, a poised wellness coach with an effortlessly serene smile, seemed to radiate a calm that sharply contrasted with the storm of emotions swirling within Ava. For a brief, charged moment, Evan's eyes met hers, revealing a flicker of surprise and an unmistakable defensiveness. The encounter, laden with the weight of old wounds and unmet promises, forced Ava to relive the sting of his abandonment. Yet, as the noise of clinking glasses and lively chatter enveloped the space, she felt an inner calm settling over her. No longer the broken woman who once depended on others for validation. Ava's presence was marked by quiet strength and unyielding authenticity. In that pivotal confrontation, the stark contrast between the superficial facade of her past and her raw, rebuilt self was undeniable, a reminder that the scars of yesterday had only sharpened her resolve to embrace a future defined by courage and genuine self-worth. In the quiet hours after the literary event, Ava Delgado returned to her studio, her mind buzzing with echoes of the evening's triumphs and unexpected confrontations. The sound of the audience's applause still lingered in her memory, interwoven with the image of Evan's face, a mixture of surprise, discomfort, and faint regret. Instead of reliving the pain, Ava found herself reflecting on how far she had come. The accident, once a symbol of her destruction, now marked the beginning of a journey that had reshaped her life and art. As she glanced around the studio, the pieces displayed on the walls and leaning against easels told a story of transformation. Each painting and spoken word piece bore the imprint of her struggles and growth, becoming a testament to her strength. The vulnerability she had once feared revealing had become her greatest asset, resonating with others and creating connections she hadn't imagined possible. What had initially seemed like the end of her world had evolved into a profound turning point, proving that the deepest wounds could indeed give birth to the most honest and impactful creations. Sitting quietly amidst her art, Ava acknowledged the painful yet necessary journey she'd undertaken, knowing that she was no longer defined by what she had lost but by what she had created from the depths of that loss, a life built not in spite of her challenges, but because of them. In the months that followed, Ava Delgado fully embraced the life she had rebuilt, transforming her creative passions into a thriving career and a renewed sense of purpose. Her once modest studio blossomed into a well-known creative space in Seaside Bay, where people gathered not only to admire her art but also to learn from her journey. With a team of supporters, including her friend Lila who now managed operations, Ava expanded her work into workshops and community events. She taught others how to channel their own pain and experiences into meaningful art, focusing especially on individuals with disabilities who found new confidence through her guidance. Each project she undertook carried the imprint of her resilience. From bold, emotionally charged paintings to moving spoken word performances that filled venues with raw, honest storytelling. Through it all, Ava's inner strength and unwavering authenticity attracted opportunities she never dreamed possible, and her work gained recognition well beyond Seaside Bay. As the city's vibrant art scene welcomed her as a key figure, Ava reflected on the long journey that had brought her to this moment. Instead of dwelling on what she had lost, she found fulfillment in what she had built, a thriving life filled with creativity, connection, and an unshakable belief in the beauty that can emerge from even the deepest wounds. Ava's story was no longer about what had been taken away, but about the extraordinary future she had claimed for herself. Ava's story reminds us that even in the darkest moments, there lies a hidden chance for growth and transformation. Her journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the power to rise from pain, rediscover one's self-worth, and craft a life that feels deeply true and authentic. By leaning into her creative passions and finding meaning in her struggles, Ava shows that our most profound challenges don't diminish our value. Instead, they can shape us into more resilient, more compassionate, and more fulfilled individuals. This isn't just a tale of overcoming hardship, it's a powerful reminder that adversity, when met with courage and self-belief, can be the very force that propels us toward a richer, more meaningful existence. Ava teaches us that our worth is not determined by how others perceive us, nor by the setbacks we face, but by how we choose to respond. When we embrace our pain, turn it into art, growth, or new opportunities, we move closer to a life of genuine connection, purpose, and triumph. Her story leaves us with a lasting lesson, even in the face of abandonment or underestimation. Staying true to ourselves and using our struggles as fuel can lead to a life of profound fulfillment.